Hello guys, welcome to my podcast Thinking in Sound. Today is episode number 22 and I will be talking about how to master hymn techniques. And why I came with this topic, because of course playing hymn is a big part of every organist, church organist daily job, and it's really very interesting topic. And one listener of mine recently sent a remark about how he struggles playing hymns because he cannot master the thumb glissando. And this made me think about how I play hymns and why do you need to do the thumb glissando while playing hymns. And if somebody told you that you need to play thumb glissando in the hymn playing, I don't know if that's really necessary, because maybe in some specific situations, but generally if I'm thinking about regular hymns from regular hymnal, let's say from the Lutheran hymnal or Episcopal hymnal or Methodist hymnal, I don't think you would find many hymns where you would need to do thumb glissando. So, when you are sending remarks like this, I would really be glad to find out what specific hymn do you keep in mind. Otherwise, we might not be understanding each other correctly. So anyway, and this situation made me think about what is the most important for me when I'm playing hymns. And some of my hymn playing on the our house reed organ or folding reed organ became really popular. But I think that while playing hymn, the most important thing is that you would be singing together, singing along while you're playing. And by saying this, I don't mean that you actually need to sing loud, but you really need to sing in your head. And why? Because if you will be singing the melody inside of your head, you will be able to choose the tempo correctly, tempo which will be comfortable for people to sing, which I think is crucial point while accompanying and playing hymns. That way you will feel where you need to take a break, take a breath, and it will help you quite a lot. Another thing, very important thing, is to choose registration right. So in order to do that, what I did when I, for example, worked as a church organist, I would definitely read the text of a hymn. And then, accordingly to the text, I would choose the registration. Well, of course, there are maybe some general points that if that opening stanza, maybe you will play it louder and then maybe go to a little bit of softer registration, but then on the last stanza you would play forte again. And of course, every time you need to adjust, because if you are accompanying, let's say, hymn for the soloist, then you probably will make the soft registration, maybe using only flutes, maybe one principal 8-foot stop with, let's say, foot for foot stop, depending on how powerful voice of your soloist is, and if he or she sings with a microphone or no. So you need to consider all these things. Another thing to consider is how loud your congregation, of course, is, and how do they like to sing, loudly or not. Because, for example, some congregations sing really loud, like some Presbyterians that I heard, sing really powerfully. So you really need to adjust registration accordingly. But for example, in some of the Catholic churches in, let's say, Lithuania, people either don't sing or sing really softly, so you don't need to overpower them with a big organ stops. But of course, for some instances. I remember one service that I played for Christmas Eve at Grace Lutheran Church back in Lincoln, Nebraska. People were singing so loudly that I was accompanying on the tutti organ and I could not hear any sound coming from the organ because the voices were so overpowered that I thought the windows will break, but it was a very nice experience. Okay guys, now let me just drink some of water from our beautiful Secrets of Organ Playing mug. Good water and beautiful mug. So now back to the hymn playing, hymn techniques. Another thing, while accompanying hymns, playing hymns, you really need to think about articulation. And I like to articulate hymns when I'm playing, with some exceptions. For example, if the hymn tune is based on Gregorian chant, then I would probably play the melody legato. For example, there are hymns such as Divinum Mysterium and Salva Mater, and basically hymns based on the Gregorian chant. Then it really sounds much better if you want to articulate the melody, except of course still keep doing the phrasing, and take a breath after a single line, after a phrase, don't play everything completely legato, but just articulate those moments where you need to take a breath. Of course, if you want to be creative and in hymn playing and accompanying hymns, then you really need probably to think that you would need to do various texture from stanza to stanza. And what I mean while telling you this is that don't play like all four voices all the time. Well, because it might get boring. Of course, you are changing registration, the text is changing, but at the same time, you could think about how to make it even more interesting. Maybe, you can play one verse just, soprano and pedals in octaves, for example. That's a possibility. Of course, it's always nice to solo out the melody, for example, in a tenor voice. This is a little bit more challenging, but that way, you can do play tenor with solo registration, maybe, use some reeds, and play two other voices, with your right hand, and of course the pedal line in the pedal. That would be really nice adjustment, and I think your congregation would really appreciate it. Another thing, while playing hymns is that you need to think about how to make a nice introduction. And I know some organists really struggle with that. Well, if you have absolutely no idea, the best thing would be just to play the last four measures of the hymn, and usually it works most of the time. And that's it. You would have, really simple, nice introduction. You would do sort of a little bit ritenuto at the end of it, and then take a breath and, let the congregation sing. Of course, you could also find some nice preludes for the hymn that you are, playing on particular Sunday, of course, you need to be careful, that the key would be the same. Because if it's not, then, you might be in trouble unless you are good at transposition. Another, simple solution for the hymn introduction would be probably do like simple, sort of forget, like do like some imitation style at the beginning, like, one voice comes and then second voice comes, the third voice comes, and then, the fourth voice comes into the pedal, and then congregational, joins you and you sing together. So this would be the main points of hymn mastering techniques. If you have more questions or suggestions for these topics, don't hesitate to ask. And I thank you for listening to my podcast, and I'll see you in my next episode next week. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.